Has there ever been a cabinet so quickly awash in criminality and resignations than what we've seen in the first 7 months of Mark Carney's time as Prime Minister? Freeland jumped ship almost immediately after sending $1 billion Canadian taxpayers over to China to build 3 ferries. Very little investigation was done. Many Canadians said that Freeland was well aware of the fact that the ferries could well have been made in BC, but for whatever reason, she was in a massive rush to get the $1 billion deal signed with China. She leaves, she's gone. Melanie Joly just came out last week. $15 billion deal the Canadian government signed with Stellantis. Stellantis decided they were moving from Ontario anyway, leaving 3,000 jobs, leaving $15 billion investment from the government of Canada. What Joly's response? Oh, I didn't read the contract. I kid you not. She said she did not read a $15 billion contract that was doled out to Stellantis, nor did any of her lawyers. All of them say, oh, I read a bit here, oh, I read a piece here, but nobody had read it in her entirety. There are now rumors that Joly is going to be stepping down after she has been an absolutely incompetent Minister of Foreign Affairs, frequently bragging about adding 2,000 jobs here, 3,000 jobs here during months when Canadians as a whole have lost 60 or 70,000 jobs. Then we have Stephen Guilbeault, who has been accused of siphoning off hundreds of millions of dollars for his green initiatives. This is the same man who scaled the CN Tower 15 years ago for so-called climate change to save the planet. You should see this man. Looks like he belongs in an insane asylum. He was also arrested one other time for some climate activism. He's the type of guy who throws paint at the Louvre. Now it's rumored that in Trudeau's green slush fund, Guilbeault managed to siphon himself off hundreds of millions of dollars. And what do you know? Guilbeault resigns. Guilbeault is going to be gone. Obviously, Trudeau is gone. Whether we're talking SNC Lavalin, We Charity, Grey Point Academy, dealing with young students, the Arrive Can-App scandal. It's just story after story after story with Trudeau. And then Carney may even be worse than Trudeau. Carney, who has overseen $85 billion leave the Canadian economy, GDP down 2 quarters in a row. We're officially in recession. But if you look at Brookfield Asset Management's assets, they're up something 40-odd% the year. He also consistently violates the Conflict of Interest Act by explicitly mentioning companies that we know. We know for a fact that Carney has an ownership stake in. Now, of course, the RCMP, they treat Carney the exact same way as they treated Trudeau, with total kid gloves. The guy has carte blanche to do whatever he wants. But my God, it was such a short period of time, within a month, having 3 senior cabinet officials in Freeland, in Joly, in Guilbeault leave. First of all, I think the criminality is undoubtable, and I hope there are investigations into all of them. How can you not read a $15 billion contract? How can you just send $1 billion to China when you know that the ferries can be built in BC? Why was there no further investigation into hundreds of millions of Canadian taxpayer dollars being siphoned off? But why? Carney was elected now nearly 2/3 of a year ago. Why did he maintain essentially the exact over 90% of the same cabinet that Trudeau had if he planned on firing him? He spoke during the run-up to the election about how Canadians were going to see projects get off the ground at a speed never before seen in this country. That turns out to have been a total abject lie. He set up more bureaucratic agencies, more project bureaus and the like, but in terms of actually getting projects off the ground, it's been incredibly slow. The only thing that's happened quickly in Canada is that the rats are scurrying off the Titanic. The Joly, the Freeland, the grifters are quickly getting the idea and getting the hell out of there. But I would argue that in the Western world, there is not a government that has been more criminal when you look at the senior officials than you have in Canada. We also have very close ties to Ukraine through Freeland. Hundreds of billions of dollars have flowed to Ukraine. A lot of corruption. They just discovered a lot of energy corruption. We've sent $22 billion over there How much of that money do you want to bet winds up in the pocket of Freeland, Carney, and their buddies? But when you actually look through it, when you actually look through this group, and even those that haven't necessarily taken part in any criminal conduct, but people like Sean Fraser, who are now attempting to absolutely wipe out free speech in Canada with Bill C8, Bill C9, Dominic LeBlanc, another tyrant wannabe. I have not seen senior cabinet officials in an administration that are so ignorant or think they're better than the law. And the rod always starts at the top, right? It's Mark Carney. It's Mark Carney who sets the tune. And I'm sure that absolutely everybody in his cabinet is well aware of the fact that when Carney goes on these overseas trips, he is not only meeting with prime ministers and leaders from other countries, he is also going and meeting with private industry leaders. So if you have a prime minister who's engaging in that type of behavior, how exactly do you expect his cabinet ministers to respond? It's highly likely to be the exact same type of behavior. So I hope that we get a follow-up in Canada on Freeland, on Galbo, on Jolie, on all these criminals, these rats who are now scurrying away, saying, I want nothing to do with this disaster of a Liberal government, which continues to get less and less popular in the polls. Carney's approval rating has already sunk about 10 points as Canadians continue to see this man blatantly, obviously enriching himself, well, billions of dollars worth of capital flee Canada. We should have a rule in Canada that says if we have a man who spent his entire adult life outside of the country and whose private business interests and investments are over 90% located in America, how exactly do we expect that man is going to be looking out for the Canadian people first? Of course not. Mark Carney is a man who's looking out for his own pocketbook. And these green initiatives that just profit them like crazy. He's not here to save the planet. He's here to profit himself and his buddies like crazy. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, because when I combine Galbo, Jolie, Freeland, Carney, Trudeau, just those 5 senior Liberal elected officials that have been around for the past decade, because Carney was a senior aide to Trudeau for a very long period of time, I don't think that there is a more corrupt bunch of 5 people across the Western world. It's embarrassing. Canadians need to wake up to what's going on, and we need to keep track of these, in many cases, I believe, criminals. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, donate, grab some gear. Appreciate it.